Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. I'm your host, Holly. I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you?
So we are recording on Sunday late afternoon, over 24 hours since our second defeat of the season. Have we processed the defeat in the last 24 hours, or are we still feeling a little bit crap? Steph, how are you feeling?
Oh, well, I'm still feeling a little bit crap, but definitely have processed and gone through various stages of grief.
Acceptance. Have you reached acceptance?
And I'm pretty much in an acceptance probably pace now. So,
when did anger kick in, and what did you do?
Oh, anger was like, I don't know. I don't know what order they go in.
Denial.
Anger was very much within that half hour.
I can't believe this happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was all right, and because I had family stuff to do today, and then when you guys called me to do the pod, it all came flooding back. So I'm now in a sort of second wave of mourning.
Of grief.
Yeah.
Well, it is only our second defeat of the season. This is the first time we're having to talk about a defeat since the 1st of September when we lost at Anfield. Another late goal, another disappointing result. I'm hoping the next 18 games follow a similar pattern to the previous 18 games after that Liverpool
I hope Villa's games follow a similar pattern to Liverpool's, maybe.
Yeah, they're getting a bit too close for comfort. They're only 3 points behind us.
Villa are very, very good at the minute.
And since you gave me that stat about the only points we've dropped are against teams currently occupying the top four, and you jokingly said, I hope Everton are in the top four, I thought that was just a stupid throwaway comment until I looked at the bloody table. They're fifth. Like,
we play them in 2 weeks.
What's going to happen? How are we going to get teams above Everton so as they're not in fourth spot by the time we play them in 2 weeks? I was nearly going through next weekend's Premier League fixtures to work out a sequence of results that have to occur for Everton to ensure, to safeguard against Everton finishing or ending up in the top four for that game.
Okay, but right, so I hate to do this then. Chelsea are currently fourth, 1 point above Everton. And who plays Chelsea next week?
No.
Everton.
Oh, gosh.
Well, it's lining up, isn't it? It's all lining up.
So it's draw or Chelsea win just for our superstition.
Is there nobody else in the league that can get above Everton? But Man United can. If Man United beat Wolves tomorrow, they go fifth.
Okay, but I think pinning all your hopes on United is a fool's errand.
Yeah, possibly.
Sorry.
I'm not sure I can get behind that anyway. Everton will be minus. I think the AFCON players will have gone for that game. Well, I know they will have gone for that game. So they are missing 2 of their first 11 for that game. I'm already clutching at straws ahead of that game, clearly. But look, Aston Villa. We're going to chat about Aston Villa yesterday. We're going to look ahead briefly to Bruges on Wednesday in the Champions League. A few of the Villa stats. We gave up 2.27 XG. That's the highest XG since Old Trafford on the opening day of the season. Now, obviously, there are mitigating factors, i.e. missing your 2 world-class centre-backs, for one. We had an XG of 1.84. We both had 15 shots. We actually had 9 on target to their 6. And this irritates me because, yes, we felt that the last 15, 20 minutes, the game was, if there was going to be a winner, it was going to fall Villa's way. But if we'd been a little bit more clinical in front of goal, like some of our shots on target, those 9, I remember Ben White had one, and it kind of just, a cushioned back pass to the goalkeeper would have been hit with more venom. And there were a couple like that. Ødegaard had a couple. I mean, he had one absolute stonker of a shot that was tipped over. But although we did give up a lot of big chances and we did ultimately succumb to a gut-wrenching, a gut punch of a winner, it needn't have mattered if we'd been more clinical. And lots of reasons for that. And I must admit, I haven't watched any of the game again, any of the highlights, apart from, because I was just curious, apart from not the Villa goal, but the 30 seconds before that, which was Declan Rice put a fantastic ball across, and Gyökeres pissed me off. He's not making any effort. Like he's not the type of striker that's going to create a goal for himself or link up play with others. That's not his natural game. But what his natural game is being serviced, be provided with, crosses that he can attack, and that was perfect. Centre a goal. If he'd made an effort, he didn't make an effort. At least if he'd had a go at trying to get on the end of it. And then Madueke. What a pathetic shot into the side netting. Like nothing. Go across goal. Make the keeper do something, and you never know where the ball might fall. Or cut back onto your left foot. If you're not fancying it on your right foot, cut back onto your left foot. Because the ball ended up at Martinez and they scored from... I know a lot of things happened between him taking that goal kick and the ball hitting the back of the net. But I've not watched that again. So it's just so frustrating. When you look at the stats, forget about the emotion, forget about the eye test as such, but the actual stats, their XG was 2.27, ours was only 1.84 by comparison to theirs. But we had 15 shots, 9 on target.
Yeah.
That's to get one goal from those numbers is poor. So I'm in the anger stage of post-defeat grief or something, but that's the stats front. What's your sense on that?
I'll just pick up on the shots that are going straight down the keeper's throat, because we've seen it quite a lot, particularly Ødegaard. He's got a very true connection when he strikes, and I'd almost rather see it go 6 inches wide from him than go straight down the keeper's throat, because it seems like, well, I'll just get it nicely between the sticks kind of thing. No, aim for the corners, aim for the side netting, aim to get it as far away from the keeper, and if it goes 6 inches wide, in a way, I'm kind of, at least he's tried to get it away from the keeper. It just seems to be too safe a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's almost a bit of a cop-out, isn't it, taking a shot?
That's maybe I'm being harsh, but that's how it feels. Is like, if I'm having a go and I'm in that position, I want to try and go for the corners, go for the angles.
If we'd taken 2 of those chances, it wouldn't have mattered about a goalmouth scramble in the 94th minute, which is the frustration. It's back to our old argument last year, Chris.
What's that?
Is it?
Oh, scoring
do
more.
We need to score more goals or
yeah,
keep
or
clean
concede
sheets?
fewer. Yeah.
Was it 83% of clean sheets give you 3 points, whereas you've got to score 3 goals in a game to get the same average return over a whole season? Mad. Steph, am I right to be angry about the poor shooting?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And like you say, the first half stats were relatively even, but in the second half, it was a half of 2 halves. Once we'd got the goal to equalise, we were really on top. And it frustrates me that we couldn't sort of capitalise on that, because, like you say, then the momentum swung the other way and Villa were pressing. But I would say, in terms of the chances, or at least what you're suggesting is the way we executed our chances wasn't good enough. But Villa had plenty as well. Like you say, I remember a Rice block at one point. Raya made a couple of pretty good saves, and we just put ourselves under too much pressure. To have given up that many chances. It was a game very much like that United one at the start of the season, and it's interesting that it's almost like those 2 performances bookend like the start of 2 processes. United start of the season, the team are kind of warming up, and here it's the team are kind of flagging a little bit after such a run. So it meant that our chances just didn't seem as vital as perhaps Villa's did, and Villa were very much up for it. We were very open, and it is a shame we couldn't press home that advantage. I think even within the game, the changes, people coming in. Eze came in from the start, and on the left, it just really didn't work from there. So we make the change. Trossard comes on with Gyökeres. Things seem to be going okay, and then Trossard gets a knock, and all of a sudden, whether that adds to the momentum shift back towards Villa, I don't know. But again, it kind of summed up where we're at the minute, that there's a lot of players coming in and out, and some are playing quite well and are fit, and others are tired, others need minutes in their legs. It's all a bit of a mess.
even, I mean, apparently Trossard wasn't going to finish the game when he came on. But he actually did 40 minutes. He came on at half time. He went off on the 86th minute mark. I thought it was earlier, but it was actually 86 minutes when he went off. So Martinelli didn't have a lot of time at all. I thought he had more than that, but he didn't really have any time. Yeah, it is that kind of double whammy of missing Saliba and Gabriel in this game. There were the two big absentees in this game, but also, Gyökeres nowhere near match ready. Trossard with the knock, Martinelli lacking minutes, Madueke lacking minutes, Eze maybe playing a little bit too many minutes, I don't know, or being shifted out of position.
Certainly not effective out there, no.
There's a question, should Ødegaard have automatically assumed that central role when... If you look at his heat map, he played very defensive. Tab said it on the Grove podcast earlier, that he was occupying Zubimendi's territory too much and maybe somewhat thwarting Zubimendi's game. And he did drop very deep. And you want Ødegaard in the final third.
You do.
This is bad. Who's the guy who does all the great analysis that we interviewed, that we had a chat with?
Oh, Adam, Arsenal Therapy.
He said the same thing. I didn't watch it, but in the kind of the blurb about his latest podcast, his analysis on the game yesterday, he hinted at the same thing. Like Zubimendi, Ødegaard needs to be further forward. He's encroaching on Zubimendi's territory too much, and he did. You want Ødegaard in the final third. That's where you want him. Eze, look at Eze, who does play in the final third. Crucial goal against who did he score against? Hat-trick against Spurs. He scored the key goal against Palace. He scored another goal. He's scored these quite critical goals where he's been shooting from a similar position that Ødegaard had 3 shots from yesterday. You give those 3 shots to Eze, and there's a greater chance that one of those at least is hitting the back of the net.
I just think that yes, absolutely, you want Ødegaard further forward, but at the same time, I think Villa also forced us back a bit, and there were periods in the game where you have to step back and do your defensive duties. Because I picked that starting lineup, I said Eze will probably be on the left, but I just didn't expect us to be so open, and whether we should have reverted to a slightly more conservative double pivot in midfield, so Rice and Zubimendi were a bit more inhibited and cautious to begin with, is, in captain hindsight and all that kind of thing, is probably right. But I don't know, I think Villa got their tactics kind of spot on. They would bypass the midfield. They did almost what we did to Bayern, in the sense that, we're not going to play that game where we play out from the back. We're going to go over the top. You're going to head it down or clear it, and then we're going to try and force you back. And it just became too open for us.
A little bit more clinical in front of goal, and Eze's more clinical than Ødegaard in that area, that kind of edge of the box area. He's a different kind of player. He can't lead the press the way Ødegaard does. And I think Ødegaard had a good game. In terms of an Arsenal player, man of the match, he'd be probably the only one at the forefront of that conversation, perhaps. But ultimately, what's he in the team for? He's not in the team to keep the opposition out. I know the defence, first line of defence is your press. I get that, but we've been okay. We've been doing okay defensively without him in the team. He's missed a lot of it.
And also offensively, Ødegaard needs a striker to look for, and as well as Marino's been doing, it was only
he's not that striker. Yeah.
It was only in the previous game against Brentford when Alan Smith on commentary said, "Oh, he's starting to think like a striker," because he'd made a dart to the near post header and all that kind of thing. But like you say, Ødegaard wants Gyökeres' runs, he wants Saka's overlaps, and Ben White sort of nipping in behind the scenes as well. So he didn't really have that with Marino having a very sort of sluggish first half. And
because
things were just a bit muddled.
Without Ødegaard, we've been on this fantastic run. Him back in the team, and what's happening? I'm not.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm not drawing. I'm joining the dots there and getting quite a Picasso-esque
2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, but it's true.
Well,
And I'm not saying that's in isolation. You can't look at that in isolation. And Odegaard had 3 chances yesterday and should have scored at least one of those. You know, it's the 2 that were straight down the keeper's throat were pathetic. And he was cross with himself. You could see it. And he's got an amazing left foot. So, and again, that's what he's in the team to do. Be that difference maker in the tight games. And I know this game wasn't necessarily tight, but it was tight in the sense that I said at one point, midway through the first half, this more and more, I know it's a stupid thing to say again, but it's like more and more this game is feeling like the first goal is going to be so important because it was swinging one way then the other, back and forth. And he thought, do you know what, the team who gets that first goal, they're going to have the wind in their sails and it could deflate the other team. Bit like what happened to Villa when we got the equaliser. There were 10 minutes after that where we really looked like we were the ones that were going to capitalise and kick on. And then, you know, testament to Villa, you know, I'm not diminishing the role that Aston Villa played in yesterday's outcome, but I'm just focusing on Arsenal. We did enough in that game to win it with the chances we created and the shots we had on target. I know the shots, the chance creation in terms of XG, however much you read into that, we're not quite as high as Villa's. And I'm not saying we deserve to win the game. I'm not. I don't believe that that's the case. I also don't believe that we deserve to lose it either. I don't think we were that bad that we deserved to lose that game. And the nature of the last kick of the game goal is a bit of a sucker punch to deal with. But, you know, Villa away, can you tell me the last time Villa lost at home?
Palace last season.
No, Palace this season. It was the first game of the season. It was the end of August. Oh. They lost 3-0. Before that, can you tell me the last time Villa lost at home?
What, to us the season before? First
day of the season before that, right? So they've lost once at home since the opening day of last season. And that was against Crystal Palace. They beat a very, very good PSG 3-2 in April in the quarter-final of the Champions League at Villa Park. And they were 2-0 down. I think it was about 55, 56 minutes they came back to, and they were leading 3-2. And they should have won that game. And that's playing PSG when PSG were very, very good. Villa did more to PSG than we did. They beat Man City this season at Villa Park. As one of the Villa fans who slipped into our messages on after the instant reaction said, Villa are almost unbeatable at home. Yeah. And it's true. And Steph, you sent the image of yesterday's, and we can include today's game so far. No away team won in the Premier League over the weekend. Winning away from home is difficult. And so I'm not saying we deserve to win at all. I'm saying we didn't deserve to lose in the fashion that we did, and it was a lot. We shot ourselves in the foot a lot with that. You know, that defeat lies at our hands rather than Villa's, I think. Or am I talking nonsense?
No, and I'm quite glad that we've got on to the point where we're sort of stepping back. Because if you look at the game, there's some real frustrations that we can have with the performance and, you know, the lack of incisiveness with our chances. But when you step back, Villa are banging form. Their home record is almost unmatched. I think it might be unmatched now at this point. And so there are caveats to that. I also thought about a thing as well where if Villa had scored that second goal at a point in the game when they were on top earlier, and it hadn't happened with the last kick of the game, I think some of that emotion, you know, if they were seeing out the game with 10 minutes to go, there would have been a point where you go, okay, right, we've just come up against an incredibly good team today. So that outcome bias does fuel all the emotion.
It's like Sunderland. You know, the way we felt about
the timing.
It's the timing of it, yeah.
Absolutely,
and we've been on the other end of that. I put out that we did it to Newcastle earlier this season. Everyone talks about our famous Bournemouth moment with Reece Nelson scoring the 98th minute winner or whatever it was from 2-0 down. So it is the feeling that gives you when it's right at the end. And had it happened earlier, you would have just looked at the game and gone, yeah, okay. It is one of those that a very good team at home, and we certainly weren't ourselves today through personnel and the lineup and everything like that. So another thing that helped me in terms of processing it was then seeing just some of the fallout online. I mean, I don't want to get too heavy into it, but obviously a lot of people, and I wonder if also it's because it's so long since we've lost a game.
We don't know how to deal with it.
Some people just don't know how to deal with it. And of course, listening to people on the outside, this is the thing that gets me. The bit that I will get wound up about is the narrative is whatever the press or rival fans want to be. Because either the title's in our hands or we were always going to bottle it. But those two things can't be true. You can't say that we are definitely going to bottle it if you're then also saying that the title's in our hands. So the fact that all those people are coming out the woodwork now going, oh, see, bottlers, blah, blah, blah. It's December. Give your heads a wobble a little bit. But it's not Arsenal fans, not real Arsenal fans anyway, who have been talking up the title talk. We're the ones who have been saying, no, look, we're in a very good position, but City can go on a run. Injuries can catch up with us, and we worry that they might be doing. You could have an awful refereeing display that seems to cheat you out of...
Christ, we haven't had that yet.
Well, yet. I love the way you say yet
God.
as well.
Yeah, it's coming.
Thanks, Steph. I forgot about that.
But to step back and look at the fact that we have faced some adversity, particularly with injuries and lineup and this, that and the other, and our only defeats have come to defending champions Liverpool when they were up there.
You have to qualify that now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. With a world-class free kick that could have decided any game, but everyone sort of understood that, we were fairly evenly matched in that game. And against Villa, who beat Man City earlier in the league, who everyone's now raving about because they're a couple of points behind us, and basically everyone's saying they're going to go on to steamroll it. So we're still top, and we're top of the Champions League. So with that view on, and there's such a long way to go. What I'm pleased about is, obviously, I'm not pleased with the loss and anything like that, but in terms of timing, we've got a kinder Champions League match to come this week because Bruges, isn't that far away. We can get the Eurostar there, for goodness sake. And we should be able to rotate a little bit, but still be incredibly competitive. Yeah, I know. Right. We'll get onto the team selection in a bit. But also then we've got Wolves at home next week. Now, I don't want to talk down Wolves in any way. Obviously,
they've got 2 points, for Christ's sake.
Yes, they've got 2 points. And obviously there will be massive expectation on us to win. But I'm quite grateful that it's a home game. It could be a team with way more points than 2, and I would still be happy because we're at home.
I bet if you ask a Man United fan who travel to Molineux tomorrow evening, I bet they're not feeling all that confident because they know they're on a hammer into nothing. Yeah. They should win.
Yeah. But
I wouldn't like to be doing it.
But it almost feels like we can treat this as a chapter point, a break in the season. Yeah. Because like you said as well, we've got a week off after that. There's no midweek game, and we won't have one of those for a little while. So a little bit of hopefully regrouping and a reset of some kind can happen, and we can move on fairly quickly, I hope.
I feel like we've double-edged sword. We've set the bar so high, and we've lost 2 games and we're still top, and these people are coming out the woodwork. And those that annoy me the most are those who profess to be Arsenal fans, and I'm not going to grace this podcast with their names, but we know that there are people actively on social media whose narrative and whose whole raison d'etre, the point of them being there, like flat earthers, come out and say, there, I told you, Arteta out.
They'll be loving it.
That's it, but that's their oxygen, and we can't feed that because it's negativity, and that's not being a fan. So it seems obvious, but we do have to step back and accept where we're at. But it's an insidious thing. It creeps in every so often, and it appeals to that emotional side of us. When we're feeling down, sometimes people want to have a go and kick something, like I do in the garden with my gnomes. You want to sort of exert it somehow, and then someone pops up on social media and starts ranting, and you think, yeah, I'll align myself with that because it makes me feel good in this moment. And that's their oxygen, and for me, we've just got to stop feeding it.
There was someone retweeted a comment from someone I don't follow, and they literally, that's it, we're not going to win the league. I'm like, grow up. Like, really? Also, are you that incapable of dealing with any kind of negativity in your life? Is your maturity level so low?
But
low.
There's a hypocritical irony in that, because these are the people that are calling out the players, saying, oh, they've got no resilience, they've got no spine, and blah, blah, blah. when they're the ones ranting about how the title's gone, because they, as fans, have no resilience. Look, I'm Mr. Pessimistic on here and everything like that, but you know,
we have a WhatsApp exchange to demonstrate that from yesterday.
Well, sure, and like you said, but like Chris, in the moment, it's because that's what I'm feeling, and it's just frustration because a game isn't going our way. Next week at Wolves, North London Forever's going. I've scarf up, singing along, cheering on the team, because I know, and this is what frustrates me yesterday, because I've been going to so many games, and as you said, I'll find it more frustrating because I'm not there, and although you're not part of it, you feel part of it. And so next week against Wolves, when we're there, 8 p.m. kickoff, night time under the lights, can be great, because I'll be singing and I'll be chanting and I'll be willing the team on to get back on track.
And ironically, Arsenal need a raucous Emirates for that game on Saturday more than they needed it for Spurs. It's get back on the horse kind of, start of anew. We've lost, right? Draw a line under that. Now let's look at the next batch of games. But just on the batch of games we've had since the start of the season, we've had 15 games. We've played 8 away from home. We've gone to United. We've gone to Liverpool. We've gone to Newcastle. We've gone to Fulham. We've gone to Burnley. We've gone to Sunderland. We've gone to Chelsea. We've gone to Villa. If you were to look at the form of all those teams, you'd got to say that the Burnley away game is probably the only on paper kind or easy game there. Sunderland at home. I mean, Sunderland drew with Liverpool at Anfield, and I know they succumbed to Man City at the Etihad this weekend. But Sunderland at Sunderland is a different proposition, and again, the timing of that goal, it cost us 2 points there from a victory to a draw. So, I mean, they're pretty tough. I mean, Fulham away, Man City just narrowly beat them 5-4 in midweek there. It's not a gimme game. Fulham just went to Spurs and beat Spurs. They're the kind of team that turn up against the big teams.
Mm. Yeah, and I was going to say that actually, equivalent last season, we dropped points at Fulham, didn't we? We drew. Yeah. So, there's ground in there. And looking at some of the games in isolation, disappointing defeats, yes, but in the Liverpool game, we were competitive. In the Villa game, we went behind under very difficult circumstances and at least came back. The Sunderland game, after the first half, I thought, oh no, this is torrid.
Yeah, we were dominant,
but then improved massively. Chelsea, we went behind to 10 men, and you could have been forgiven for thinking, oh, here we go, it's going to be one of those days. But there is a bit of metal there. I was massively disappointed that we couldn't take advantage of Chelsea's 10 men, in the same way that I was massively disappointed we couldn't take advantage of the momentum we had at one point against Villa yesterday. But what we're not seeing is a complete collapse in any of those games. And there are factors in there, but I don't want to get into excuses. Chelsea dug in and were very aggressive. Villa are incredibly good, and they've got a good and Chelsea are paying
for that now, aren't they?
Well, this is the thing. They shot themselves in the foot in the game alone with Caicedo getting sent off, and him being missing for the last 2 games means they've only got 1 point from a potential 6 against teams they will think they should be beating. So you've got to factor these things in. They've gone too aggressive, and it's cost them. So. Yeah, I mean, you can spin the narrative. It's disappointing to have lost, but it's only our second defeat, so you can spin it in a positive way. 14
points from a possible 24 from those games away from home is pretty good. We've lost 2, we've drawn 2, and we've won 4. It's not a bad haul. I mean, yeah, you'd ideally want an extra 2 or 3 points in there, but that's enough that we've got a 2-point lead at the top of the league, having played 8 away games and 7 home games. Mm. So, okay, I struggled with this, but you two are adamant that you want to do it. Who's your man of the match?
Go on, Chris.
Well, I said to you
who does
earlier,
Wenger think was man of the match?
I said, well, I feel like I said to you earlier, that you have to try and lower the bar. In terms of, no one was outstanding, with all due respect to them. The effort was kind of there. There was a lot of fatigue. So I've put Raya/Rice because I thought Raya made an incredible save in the first half. Yeah?
Yeah, good call, yeah. I didn't think of Raya.
And can't really fault him for either of their goals.
Oh, no.
And Rice, to be obviously not at 100%, was still giving it his all. So
that
they're
block,
my two.
That
the
block
block
was
the
fantastic.
Cross, yeah.
Steph, you're up.
Yeah, again, just looking at it across the game, who was the most consistent over the 90 minutes for me, and did create chances, albeit, there's a caveat of they could have been executed better, and that's Odegaard. He's getting up to speed. Like he was fine, and it's mainly when I look at other players in the game. Saka was iffy. Eze and Marino really struggled in the first half. Trossard came on, but I'm just thinking of the whole game.
He had 3 chances. He scored one, narrowly missed target with another, and keeper saved from a tight angle. Although, Chris, you said he should have scored that one. It was harsh, man. I think after Chris's argument, I'd put Raya as man of the match on that basis. And my impressed with, I want to put Declan Rice. I know Odegaard's probably, but I think Rice was... if that game hadn't ended in defeat, it would have been more to do with Rice than Odegaard, for example, if you look at it like that. Who are you most impressed with then, Chris?
I've got Trossard simply because he was so much more efficient than Eze. Again, it's the bar thing. He wasn't spectacular, but he came on, and in the time he had, having been injured, scored a goal, created, more efficient. So that was, yeah.
Steph?
Yeah, same. Trossard, clutch player. Just produces, delivers at the minute. Brilliant.
What's your positive takeaway, Chris?
Still top. That's it.
Okay,
Still top.
I've got a gap there, so I'm writing that one down. Still top. Still top. Right, I'm having that.
Right, I haven't written anything. Still top.
Yay!
It says still top. That's all it says.
You could have changed it and said top still.
Top still. Top still?
I'm unashamedly stealing that because I couldn't think of anything. Still top, indeed.
It's all relative. Negative
takeaway, Chris.
I've written fatigue because it's not just this game, but I feel it's like something that it's affected us for a few games, and that's what concerns me most. I don't think there's anything sort of systemically wrong with the way we're playing. We could go down that whole injuries thing, and that we haven't got a settled 11. And for me, it's like they just feels like they need a rest. And I felt like the energy levels of Chelsea and of Villa were greater than ours.
Can I ask you something then? And with captain hindsight, okay, what would you have done different to the starting 11? Because we all pretty much picked the same starting 11 as Arteta went with. So what would in hindsight, what could he have done, or what would you have wished he'd have done better, differently?
Well, my 11 was trying to exploit space in behind Villa, if you remember. I just wanted to see, and it would have given more minutes to Martinelli and Gyökeres. For me, they would have been the starters, just because I felt it would have given them something to think about. When they came on when Gyökeres came on for the second half, there was that, I felt a bit more focus up front, and we were giving them more to think about. So that would have been the main thing for me.
It's funny because the only thing I remember about Gyökeres, apart from not running for that cross from Rice, was just bouncing off one of the Villa defenders, landing on the ground, complaining, and me just shouting at him to get the bloody hell up. That's all I remember about his second half. Again, I haven't gone back and rewatched it. He might have done a lot more than that, but it didn't feel like it.
Yeah, he did. He stretched them a bit more. But he's coming back from injury.
I'm glad we paid 65 million for a striker to stretch the opposition defence a bit more.
Oh, you're harsh.
Let's
just give him some minutes and see, when we come on to Bruges. But I do think he just needs minutes. I think he's that type of striker. We know he's kind of clunky, but he needs refining.
Well, he's in the right place for that. Steph, what's your negative takeaway?
The lack of control. So a couple of things. When you know your best centre-back pairing is out, that gives you so much at the back, but in your build-up play, and then also in the attacking box when we've got set pieces. And you're playing a team like Villa who are banging form and have got a brilliant away record. It's fine to go there, be a bit humble, and try and soak up pressure, because that's essentially. It played into Villa's hands, making the game sort of stretched. And the thing that really started to annoy me is that when we were in possession and we were more comfortable in possession, we would take up this pattern. I saw it once or twice. I don't know if it happened a huge amount of times, but once or twice, it was almost like that thing that I remember City doing quite a lot when they had Raheem Sterling. It was almost like we'd have a front five. So you'd have the two wingers really wide, maybe one of the full-backs or something would be that front line. So there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, essentially along the opposition back line, and then you'd have a box midfield of like 4, so your 2 centre-backs and then 2 central midfielders, maybe one of the full-backs. And we did that, and Villa would just turn over the ball and knock it into one of those channels where a full-back should have been, and Calafiori and White were just not there. And I just thought, what are we doing? We're just playing in hands. So then you've got Timber and Nkapie, who are both fairly proactive in what they want to be doing, getting drawn wide, and we were just cut open so many times. And I just thought, well, when you've got Eze, who's not like Martinelli in the way that he will defend and sort of track back. It's not his game. I'm not necessarily expecting him to do that, although I am sort of expecting him to do that. And so it just felt like a complete lack of control. And I admit that's the lineup I would have went with, was the one that was started. But like Chris, in hindsight, more pace to get in behind. But that requires sitting back and trying to stretch them a little bit more. I'd love to have seen Madueke start, or Martinelli would have just given us so much more.
I largely agree with what you've said there. But if you just think, weren't we pointing fingers at Arteta for being too conservative in big games earlier on in the season and worrying too much about the opposition, like Liverpool away, like City at home in particular? We were quite disappointed about the way we set up, and he got a lot of pelters from us and other reasoned Arsenal fans for maybe being a bit too conservative, also with his substitutions. And so, you've just said that he should have been more conservative than he was, and it's like, damned if we'd taken our chances, and that's not on Arteta, that's on the players. He set up a team that created 15 chances and had 9 attempts or shots on goal. So 9 shots on target, rather.
That the way that sounds is like we were bossing it and then almost got sucker punched, and that's not really how the game played out. And I just think when you're missing the base of your spines, who are so good, because the personnel with City and the Liverpool games was relatively strong, so we could have afforded to be a bit more. But then
focus on your strength, which is an attack. Take the pressure off the defence so that conceding a goal isn't going to be costly. I'm just thinking, like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit, but it's just funny that we did complain about his conservatism at the start of the season.
It's that thing again of, if you commit too many forward and you've got a kind of makeshift, with all due respect to them, defence, you're going to be complaining that we shouldn't be so gung-ho.
It wouldn't have mattered had we taken a couple of those chances. 9 shots on target.
I'm also going to say, like you said, be more attacking. Well, actually, were there not more attacking options on the bench? Like, some of them could have started.
Well, the only one I had down as an alternative to start the game would have been Martinelli instead of Eze on the left, for the pace as well.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Madueke would be ready. He could have done...
He would, but I don't like him on the left. And so he'd have started in front of... He'd have started ahead of Saka.
But then you said maybe
right,
it was a more attacking option if Eze moves to the middle instead of Odegaard. I don't know. We could talk in circles.
Did you, Chris, you do a negative takeaway? I can't remember now.
I did. I just talked about the fatigue factor.
Right. Yeah. I've written down timing of the goal as the obvious one, but also a really ineffective left-hand side. And I know Trossard scored from it, but just throughout the game, and it concerns me a little bit that we spent all this money and is that unfair on player availability so far? But, who is the big money signing we've got to play on the left? Well, it's Eze, isn't it?
But then, do you think it's systemic? Do you think we've seen that a lot, that issue? Or is it just recency bias that we looked at the game yesterday and it was definitely poorer on the left?
I don't know. Possibly. I don't know. But yesterday, it was
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's leave that alone now.
Please.
Please. We've got to play them again in about 3 weeks, haven't we?
Yeah, good. And that's feeds the narrative, revenge. But let's park that. 30th of December, we have the return fixture. Okay. Club Brugge away on Wednesday, 8 o'clock kickoff in the Champions League. We are top of that group. We are on 15 points. It's perceived wisdom that 16 points should be enough to qualify you for the top 8. So we are probably just one win away from securing our qualification into the knockout round, not the qualifying, whatever that qualification round or extra round is called. We won't be in that. We've got to play Inter Milan away, and we're home to, is it Kairat? I'm not sure. Kairat.
Amati,
I think
they're called.
So they're the lowest ranked team that we've got to face. So that's got to be a home win there. So Club Brugge are sitting in 26th on 4 points. They're a couple of places below their cut-off point for the midsection. But before you get too cock-a-hoop about meeting a weak Club Brugge, they're 2 Champions League home ties so far. I've seen them. Now, Monaco are pretty crap generally, but in the French league, but they beat Monaco 4-1 and they drew with Barcelona 3-3, having led 3 times in that game. So their home record, it seems to me, it hints at they can get themselves up for a big club visiting their ground. I don't know anything about the capacity of the stadium. I don't know how tight a ground it is, how hostile the atmosphere is. I haven't got a clue. But 4-1 against Monaco and 3-3 against Barcelona, they're pretty decent results they are. I think quite a few big European clubs will be quite pleased with those 2 home results. They have lost their last 2 league games. They lost 3-2 last night to a late goal. Boo-hoo.
Oh.
We know. We feel their pain, and the previous weeks. I think they're sitting in 3rd now in the Belgian league. I don't know any of their players, although Tabs did find out that their 3rd choice goalkeeper is Simon Mignolet. So we know him, and that's the only recognisable name I could find in connection with Club Brugge. Right, so that's the opposition. Chris, what should we do about Bruges? How should we approach it? How do you think we should approach it? And if it's the same, how do you think Arteta should approach it?
Well, I think we're limited really by who's available, and he's not going to risk certain players, I hope. I would want to take certain players out completely, like Rice needs a rest, clearly. So the back line, I've got people who need minutes, basically, in the back line with it's a bit... Shall I give you my team?
Yeah.
So I'm going to put Kepa in goal. I'm going to put White as right back.
3 games in a row.
I know. Well, he's relatively fresh.
That's going to break him.
This is what went wrong last time when he covered for Timber.
But who else is there? And then you put Timber there, and then who have you got at right back?
Well, it depends on whether Saliba's...
centre.
It depends on whether Saliba's available.
I wouldn't risk him. That's the thing. I wouldn't risk him. Maybe if he's fit to bring him on for 20 minutes at the end, but I'm just trying to play it as safe as possible because I think we should still have enough up front. He said. So I've put Timber at right centre because we've got, Salmon is the only other option there I can think of. Marley Salmon, who's like 12. So we've got Nkapie and then MLS. And then Norgard has to get some minutes for me.
Otherwise, what's the point?
What is the point? What's he seeing in training, maybe? And then I've got Marino left 8 with Ødegaard, again, because he needs the minutes. And in the front line, Madueke, Gyökeres, Martinelli, all three of whom have been injured and all three of whom need minutes. So they're my sort of main criteria for going with that lineup. And then you can rotate with, substitutions later with Wolves in mind and the rest that follows it.
Okay, Steph.
I've got two teams. I mean, just
you can only play one.
Just on Bruges. I saw a bit of the Barca Bruges game, and they exploited devastatingly Barca's high line. Jupp Heynckes plays a ridiculous high line for with Barca, and they just exploited that. So either they've got the pace to get in behind, or they're just canny enough to look at a team and try and exploit its weaknesses. And their capacity of their ground is about 30,000.
Really? Okay.
Just looked it up. I mean, they're big. They're
that's
130 odd years old. I'm definitely referring to Wikipedia now, by the way, on that.
Bruges is a beautiful city, by the way. Cobblestones. I absolutely loved it there. Have you been?
No. Closest I've got is watching In Bruges.
The film, which is a brilliant film.
Which is
Watch In Bruges. Absolutely love it.
It's magical,
and that is
with
the
all
reason.
The
that is the reason I went to Bruges, and
Right.
I've been there at Christmas time, and I've been there in the summer, and it's beautiful, beautiful place. Not that I'm not being paid by Bruges tourism,
board,
but it is well worth the trip, and I'm very envious of any Arsenal fans making the trip on Wednesday. Sorry.
So the first team I'm going to give you is the team I think Arteta will pick. I think he's playing Raya in goal. I think because of the injuries we've got in defence, he's playing White, Timber, Hincapié and Calafiori. Calafiori will play because he can't play against Wolves, I think.
Isn't that a reason to play Lewis Skelly? To get him up, because he's a bit rusty.
One or the other, isn't it? Because if he gets injured, we're proper, yeah, The caveat to that is if Saliba can start, he probably if the medical team give it the okay, and if Saliba gives it the okay, and Arteta feels confident enough, he will start Saliba because also White or Timber could do with the rest as well. So I think he will do that, but I'm not sure he can. Odegaard, Zubimendi, Rice, front line Saka, Gyökeres, Martinelli. That's what I think he's starting with. That's what I think Arteta is starting with. I think he's going strong, and I think he's going to play Saka. Gyökeres, if he's ready to go, he's not going to play
Okay, what
Marino.
team do you think? What team would you pick?
If I was picking this team, get this. Galaxy Brain incoming. Kepa in goal. The back line is exactly the same because I don't think we can change it. White, Timber, Hincapié, Calafiori. Midfield 3, Waneri, Norgard, Eze. Front 3, Dauman, Jesus, Madueke. Jesus played in a behind closed doors under 21s game. Against
He won't start him.
So did Dauman. So did Dauman. And can you tell me who else played for Arsenal in that game that will surprise you? Go on then.
Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
The Ox.
He did.
The Ox. I did see someone, because whoever posted that out saying the Ox played for blah, 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 someone quote tweeted it and said, we're going to sign him in January, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like a new signing.
Sterling on a free.
Okay. I had this conversation with Tabs earlier, and I said, and this is the team that I'm going to read out my team, but I think you haven't been watching Arteta very closely if you think he's going to play this team. So it's quite similar to yours, probably, Steph. I have gone with Raya in goal, though. I think with the instability ahead of him, I just think he'll want that one of the kind of established order at the back there, controlling it. And Raya was brilliant against Aston Villa. And the fatigue for a goalkeeper is more concentration-wise than physical, and I think he's not showing any signs that he's fatigued at all. So I'd stick Raya there. Look, if Saliba's fit, he'll play. Again, it's a bit curious that we haven't heard what his actual injury was. That's a little bit of a red flag, and a matter of days is a little bit of a concern. But I put down Timber at right back just because White will break. He has played no football. It'd be different if he was up and running and the rhythm was there and so on, like it is for Timber. So Timber, Saliba, Hincapié, and I put Lewis Skelly just on the basis that he has looked quite rusty when he's played, and I think he knows he's playing against Wolves, so it'd be good to give him 90 minutes on Wednesday ahead of that game on Saturday because Calafiori's obviously suspended for it. Midfield, Steph, you like this? I've gone Norgard, Marino and Wanyeri. Marino had a half off, and so he can drop back into his regular position in midfield. Norgard sit in front of the back too. And Wanyeri, I know Eze, but I think Eze doesn't need minutes. So I'd put Wanyeri there. And my front three, I think, were the same as yours, Chris. Madueke, Gyökeres and Martinelli are my front three. And like you said, I think that's more than enough in attack to cause Bruges trouble. And then the bench then is really strong. But if you think Arteta's going to pick that team, like Zubimendi and Rice will both start. He'll want to win the game and secure that, and he shouldn't, because Martin Keown asked him before the kickoff against Aston Villa about team selection. He said, do you focus on the next game or the game ahead in terms of player availability? And he kind of bristled a little bit and said it's a little bit of both, but it's more about the player, and if the player, how is the player feeling? If the player wants to play or they feel like they've... And I'm like, no, take that decision away. Like Gabriel wanted to play for Brazil in a meaningless friendly at the Emirates, and look what happened. Don't play the player. Saliba, he picked up a knock in the warm-up, played, stopped but carried, said he was fine. 4 minutes into the game, had to come off against Liverpool.
I'm sure there's a bit more to it, though. I'm sure that the medical staff will say, hang on, he's in the red, he needs a rest, and that's when you take the decision away from the player. Player's always going to want to play.
I've just done a quick search online, and albeit, now Arsenal and Sports Mole, but generally the vibe is the Wolves game.
For Saliba?
Yeah. But again...
Yeah, the fact he wasn't on the
source.
bench. Yeah. Okay. Right, Chris, score.
I've got a shading it 2-1.
Steph.
I've just literally just changed it. I initially went 2-0, but a little bit spooked by Club Brugge's home record, and if with a much changed team, we might not be as solid, but we should have enough to score. So I've gone 2-1 as well.
I mean, they've scored 7 goals in their two.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They lost 3-2 yesterday, so they scored. There are goals in their games. I've got us winning 3-1.
Okay.
Just always conceding a goal, but a very strong bench to make the difference if needs be. With Rice, Zubimendi, Saka, Trossard, Eze on the bench, ridiculously. I mean, this is why I don't want to get bogged down with excuses in terms of injuries and players missing. If Saliba is available for the Wolves game, like you've just suggested he might be, we are only missing 2 players. One from the starting 11, arguably, and that's Gabriel and Havertz. There shouldn't, who else are we missing? I know there's players coming back who are not up to match fitness and speed yet, but that's
kind of what I was going to say.
That's getting there. Like you can't point that at Ødegaard now. Madueke's had sufficient minutes. Martinelli's probably, if he plays against Bruges, he will be up to, you would imagine, match fitness. You've got to find your form again, I guess. But
so I guess that's why there's been a lot of chat in the last 24 hours about it is so surprising that Norgard hasn't had more minutes, because we are playing Zubimendi an awful lot. Rice is always looks absolutely knackered at the end of games, and he seemed to be an absolute plug and play kind of player. Yes, there's a drop down, and it may point to the fact that a lot of our games have been quite close, I suppose, in recent weeks. But I don't know, just feels like
he should have started against Brentford, Norgard.
I mean, you wonder, don't you?
Or at least come on.
Or at least come on. Yeah, he didn't even come on.
There were some whispers recently about a scouting of a central midfielder for the January window. I mean, it could be gossip, but it's just interesting that people are picking up on the fact that maybe it isn't working out with Norgard for whatever reason, and that
Do you have a name?
I would no, sadly not. But for me, it's just a vibe that if there is a position that can be strengthened, it probably is there, because Marino's now kind of has almost established himself further forward, hasn't he? When Havertz comes back, do you see him playing left 8? I don't know.
He'd be the striker.
Right.
Would have loved Havertz yesterday against Villa. He would have been amazing, just because of the way he would be like a release valve for the pressure.
The way he links play up so much.
Well, exactly.
More
That's
effectively
it. That's the
as
point.
well. He's like a Swiss Army knife.
If that central midfielder is Semenyo, I'm on board with that.
Well,
repurpose him. Yeah,
he's going to be going to Liverpool, right? Because Liverpool could all of a sudden have a space on the wing.
Now
available.
then.
A Salah-shaped hole.
Indeed.
If we thought we had
What a 24
problems,
hours it's been.
What a big crybaby.
Do you want to explain, Chris, for anyone who's been living under a rock the last 24 hours?
I do think it's worth, again, for perspective, because if people are thinking we're having a hard time, top of the Champions League table, top of the Premier League table, only 2 losses this season. Liverpool, who, as we know, have been going through this wretched spell of form.
Liverpool, who are 9th, by the way.
People calling for their manager's head. There's clearly unrest within the club, and then they dug up this interview. I don't know if it was yesterday or it was from a few days before, but it was for Norwegian TV, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Salah has come out and basically said he has been thrown under the bus. He's been made a scapegoat of. The relationship has broken down between him and Slot. He's earned the right to be there. That's the bit that got me, is like he's this sense of entitlement that he should be in the first team regardless of form. Like, you know, put a statue outside Anfield of me now.
He cited Harry
Incredible.
Kane. Because he said
Yes.
when Harry Kane was playing for Spurs, he'd go 10 games without a goal but still be picked. And it made me think, Tottenham never spunked like 200 million quid on strikers to replace him. If they had, maybe they would have tried someone else.
But it is just another thing of perspective. You know, we can all kind of moan about where we are, and we're not here to tell people how to feel. But
I'm a little bit reticent going in on Liverpool because they did win the league last year.
Well, this is it.
So they are the defending.
This is about him. This is about Salah.
Champions. But it's only ever about him. Mo Salah is only about him. I watched a few minutes on TikTok. It came up as it's the Red Men or something, but a kind of decent Liverpool podcast. Yeah. And this is before this interview. So before the Salah interview, they were just thinking, querying or noting. It's curious, isn't it, how Salah's been really quiet in this bad run. Last season, he was the first one to front up to the cameras when A, it was going well, but B, oh no, the club haven't offered me a contract yet. I don't know what's going to happen. When he had a message to give out, he was the one, and it was about Mo Salah. He was the one that was fronting up. Funnily enough, and this is the Liverpool fans, not me saying this, because I wouldn't have a clue who's been doing the post-match interviews or prezzers within the Liverpool camp. But they'd noted it, that, well, where's Salah been? He couldn't shut him up last season, but he's been playing this season. We've been awful. He's been awful, and he's been very quiet. Then all of a sudden, he's benched for 3 games, and it's like, whoa, oh, here he is, doing interviews again, are we? Got a problem, have we? Oh, woe is me. And I do kind of feel a degree of sympathy for Liverpool fans because he's an Anfield legend. He won the league for them last season and has won many trophies with them, and just a mercurial goal scorer. Like, love watching him play football, not against us, because he'd always bloody well score. And he's really tarnishing that or risking that legacy now.
Totally.
Because the timing of it is so pointed as well. He goes off to the AFCON next week, and of course he's going to be playing in a more comfortable environment, and with the January transfer window just around the corner, you know, there's lots of talk about potential Saudi move, albeit Liverpool are now in a terrible negotiating position because here is a player that clearly wants out, and they've just spunked a massive contract on. It's just given me such vibes of the likes of Aubameyang in particular, and to some extent Ozil as well, where these players, you know, they are self-motivated, and when they've got kind of what they want in terms of a contractual sort of situation, then it will only stay positive on the pitch if things on the pitch are positive. And because Liverpool have had a bit of adversity, all of a sudden, I'm not happy with this.
He's only been benched for 3 games. And as you say, there's £200 million worth of talent purchased to... or more than 200 million. They paid
Ekitike, Isak, Wirtz.
It's about 300 million pounds worth of talent to replace him. Like, what was it, Wirtz and Isak and Ekitike? I know they're not necessarily right-sided players, but yeah, you do think that any money they get, I mean, Semenyo's got a 65 million pound release clause for the first 2 weeks in January only, to allow Bournemouth to replace him if he were to go. I've heard Man City mooted as a possible destination for him also.
For Salah?
No, for Semenyo.
Yeah.
Because they've got Savinho, who doesn't really play, or Silva plays on the right, or even Foden plays from the right. They haven't got like a Doku they got on the left-hand side. They haven't really got a right-sided player, and Semenyo would be ideal for them. And his numbers this season have been fantastic. I mean, I know he had his goal disallowed against Chelsea, but when his name flashed up on the screen scoring against Chelsea after 3 minutes, he wasn't offside. I haven't seen the goal, but I heard he wasn't offside. It was someone else. But and just thinking, left-hand side. You know, you talk about those marginal gains. You go from a Ben White to a Timber. You go from a Ramsdale to a Raya. You telling me we can't go from a Trossard, Martinelli, Eze, Madueke on the left to another level up? Are you sure we can't do that? We can't improve from Saka on the right. His numbers are ridiculous. We can improve through the middle. We can get a striker elevating us on the Gyökeres's numbers so far. Some these marginal gains. We spent a lot of money in the summer, but have we actually, those 2 areas, the left-hand side and maybe the sense of competition has raised Trossard and Martinelli's game, which is good. That's a kind of byproduct of the purchases. I don't know.
There's a podcast in this. I think when we have a week off, we have another assessment, don't we? Time to assess where we're at.
A week off? What is this?
I know.
Right, okay. Let's end it now. Let's have the rest of the evening off.
Shall I give you a nice little, as the time of recording, Eddie Nketiah has just put Palace ahead and they are now 4th. Wow. Does that make you feel any better?
Oh no, Fulham have just equalised.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It's going to be Everton in 4th, guys. Just forget about it and we're going to drop points.
It's not it's not an ex-Arsenal player that's equalised, is it?
I don't know. It's just it's on. It may well be VAR'd yet. It's just it hasn't.
Okay.
It's just flashed up, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But anyway.
Well, next week, if you're talking about who potentially could replace Everton in the top 4, Palace are at home to Man City next week.
I'm up for that.
So if Palace take points off Man City, they will be in the top 4 and will usurp Everton before we play Everton. We shall see.
Okay. Let's just worry about ourselves now. Indeed. All right. Okay. Cheers for the chat. Cheers for watching. Cheers for listening. Enjoy the next few days. We'll catch up again with an instant reaction after the Bruges game on Wednesday. In the meantime, take care. Have fun.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.